Have you dealt with someone who is anxiously attached? Oh my God. I want it to be... Ew! I'm just like a shy boy, like I don't know what to do. And I'm dating Gracie Abrams and she can't sing. If I was in hand-to-hand combat, if I had to physically fight this wig, I'm wearing a wig right now, it is a U-part wig, I would lose. If we had to fight to the death, Killmonger and T'Challa style, I would lose. This has been a temporary hairstyle, but I always thought having a straight wig, this is kinky straight, and it's straightened obviously, I always thought having that would really satisfyingly scratch the part of my brain that will always remain unhealed, that rests in the form of middle school and high school Jess. I always thought having this hair would really satisfy that part of my brain that wants straight hair and wants to see what I look like with a very Eurocentric style of hair. But I now realize that this is one of the most unflattering styles for my hair ever. I think straight hair really flattens my face and it makes me look so dull and plain. It's giving plain Jane. And not in a good way. Not in the way that I want it to. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Happy New Year! It's a new year. I was planning to post this on the 31st or the 30th of December, but that was not gonna happen. That was just not gonna happen. It's not relevant whatsoever, but I do have 2 jobs, and working 2 jobs during the holiday season is very difficult. So, 2024 happened. It was a year that happened statistically, factually, objectively. However, 2024 was I think the worst year of my adult life. I got laid off earlier last year actually. I got laid off 20 days ago, last year. Wait, I did not even say that right. I got laid off on January 24th, 2024. And promptly about 5 of my friends proceeded to get laid off as well. Like super lucrative and successful positions, laid off, literally gone. I keep hearing sentiments on how 2024 was bad for a lot of people, and I'm really sorry, guys. Like, I'm glad it was bad for you too. 2024 was bad. I'm glad it was bad for you too. And if 2024 was the best year of your life, if 2024 was great, good for you. I'm not talking to you right now. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about people who truly went through it in 2024. All of my friends and I went through it in 2024. All of it. Like, personal, career, it kind of all fell to shit. Maybe it's because it was an election year, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. But it kind of felt like one of those things that's, at least for me, necessary. I think I definitely needed this year. It provided a lot of a wake-up call for me, and I think it's just kind of one of those things you have to go through in adulthood. I know what to do and what not to do. I know how to move and how not to move, and a lot of my objectives and purpose as a person, as a creative, have been made clearer throughout the mess, the brouhaha. My mom likes to use the word brouhaha. That was last year. So we suffered together. I'm sorry that we suffer, but at least she was together, and 2025 is going to be the best year of our lives. You and me, let's stay together. I'm going to take my time filming. I'm going to try not to put a lot of edits in this video, just in a few hours' sake. Some of you have said that you do like longer videos from me. I think I heard something or like read a few comments expressing like how beautiful and like how intelligent I am, and I think a lot of you like really like and respect that and admire that about me, and I respect that and admire that about you, that you like that about me.
What is she talking about?
Bro, who
said that?
Those things have been said before.
Who said that?
About this.
Who said that?
Yes,
Can
they have.
Source? Can we see some evidence?
I have a lot of favorites to go through. I have quite a lot. I have decided to put them all on a Google Doc just for accessibility, but also because I did not feel like writing and then having to scan everything that is my handwriting. I do have a doc here. This is not my idea at all. I got the idea from a YouTuber named Mickey, who I really like their videos. I'll link their channel down below, and I'll also be linking the Google Doc down below, so don't say I never provided for you. I don't want to edit this video whatsoever. I came back from work tonight. I have to open tomorrow morning. I don't want to spend a lot of time editing this video, even though I know it's going to be long. So I'm going to try to speak clearly, slowly, concisely, and we're going to go through our favorites together. I discovered a lot of things in 2024. I'm very excited and eager to share. There is like a chemical that goes off in my brain. I want to like write a book or a Substack or something on like all the reasons why I would be a terrible mother. I think I'm actually going to do that. I should make a note of that. But you know when you like hit your elbow and it like it hits the funny bone and you feel like a feeling of like pain, but it's also mixed with something else. That's how I feel whenever I hear a baby's like shriek, not even cry, not even wail, like a shriek. It is so disturbing, and I'm not one of those people who just like hashtag like I hate babies, but it just reminds me that like motherhood will never grace this body, this existence, this plane. I'm sure lots of various timelines and versions of myself, like I don't know, Village Jess and whatever. I'm sure she had to have kids, but this lifetime, this body, the one that I'm conscious in, no, that's never gonna happen. Let's start with film. I want to say I don't think I have good taste. I don't have good taste. If you go back to my favorites video last year, I explained the situation as to where I like to watch movies. I either like to watch really heavy, serious movies by myself so I can emote and think and cry. But for the most part, I like to watch movies with friends. I like it to be a collective experience because I love to chatter during a movie. So a lot of the time, I love a franchise movie. I love a Step Up. I love a Planet of the Apes. I don't claim to have good tastes in film. However, these are some of my favorites. First one is Tangerine. Tangerine is gritty. It's really vibrant, and it follows the story of two transgender sex workers, Cindy and Alexandra, on Christmas Eve in Los Angeles. Cindy just got out of jail, and Alexandra unknowingly reveals to her that her boyfriend / pimp Chester has been cheating on her. Surprise, surprise. Cindy goes on a very wild mission to confront him, and Alexandra joins with her along the way, and there's a lot of chaos that ensues. This movie is really fast-paced. It's raw. It was shot entirely on iPhone 5S's. It gives it such a, I hate this word, but a real feel. This movie is funny. It's so funny. It platforms to transgender Black women, and I think it showed LA in such an endearing light. This movie was such a pleasure to watch. I loved every second of this. Okay, next is 1 Hour Photo, directed by Mark Romanek. Look at who the fuck does she think she is putting director's name? Who the you are, bitch? 1 Hour Photo is a thriller. It stars Robin Williams. He plays Cy Parrish, who is a very quiet, almost aloof photo technician who works at a 1 Hour Photo lab, and he becomes obsessed with this family. They are his regular customers. They're called the Yorkins. Over time, Cy begins to develop a pretty unhealthy attachment and perception to them, particularly the wife, and he starts to manipulate their photos in pretty disturbing ways. Cy's obsession grows. He starts performing discrepancies at work. He just starts cracking, and he even gets fired. As this obsession grows, things spiral out of control, and they lead to a few moments that I cannot describe. This movie was, I really appreciate a 2000s thriller because it's not scary. This movie was a very eerie, almost like silently cold vibe, and it's about a man who is not normal but trying to maintain this facade of normalcy. I think this movie was really fun to watch, and obviously you are watching a man quite literally lose his mind, but I think there are greater themes of isolation and obsession and loneliness that are showed and portrayed throughout this film. There's a toenail that I dug too deep in. Next, I have Blue by Derek Jarman. This is an experimental film. It's very deeply poetic. It's reflective. It's extremely personal. This is from artist and filmmaker Derek Jarman, who was recollecting and documenting and relaying his experience with AIDS. The film is a solid blue color throughout, while Derek Jarman's voice narrates his reflections on his life, his art, his experiences living with AIDS. He lost his sight, and he really wanted to have the emphasis on this film be through sound instead of sight. The film is raw, it's intimate, it's diving into themes of mortality and love and the sensory experiences that make life meaningful. So without these traditional visuals, your focus is entirely to sound. He has words, he has music, he has ambient noises and like soundscapes and different sound effects that create a very immersive and meditative and emotional atmosphere to carry you throughout this film. I think it's a little bit jarring at first. I knew that the screen would be blue throughout, but it's almost a little bit uncomfortable. It's on YouTube for you to watch the entire thing, and it really kind of forced you to sit there and just like listen and take everything in. I think Jarman is an artist. I think he's a visionary, and even in really trying and unprecedented times like the AIDS crisis, I'm very grateful that there were people who were just so dedicated to art and the message that was prevalent then and even now. Just so dedicated enough to give us this art and these voices and these perspectives, even in a time like even during their last dying breath. I think that's amazing. So next is Fat Girl. It's directed by Catherine Breillat. That's the best I could do on that. This is a French drama. It initially appears to focus on the dynamic between two sisters, Anaïs and Elena. The film is visually striking. There's lots of aesthetically pleasing and like meticulous shots and scenes. There is a clear juxtaposition between the worldviews of these two sisters. Elena is the older, I think she's 15, and she's a lot more naive and eager to explore her sexuality. She believes that she can shape the world and her experiences to her will. She begins a romantic and sexual relationship with an older boy. He's a college student. His name is Fernando, which drives a lot of the film's early tension. On the other hand, Anaïs, who's much younger, even though she's younger, she knows more. She's a lot more self-assured. She's not really much like her older sister, who kind of has like a very juvenile, obviously they're both kids, flippant and like fakely self-assured perception on herself and romance. She's a lot more cautious. She's a lot more mature when it comes to her relationship, her views on relationship and life. And I think this perception comes from the way that Elena treats her. Her older sister treats her. It's not nice. It's not kind. It's very reminiscent and like familiar to a very common older younger sister dynamic, right? I say this as older sister. Sometimes you treat your younger siblings cruelly and you don't even know why. Anaïs's worldview is also shaped by the neglect of her parents. It's only her and her older sister, but I think they're honestly both neglected, which is why they both think the way they think and act the way that they act. She's very quiet. She appears very emotionally passive, very hardened. I decided to hone in and focus on the relationship between the two sisters because that's the point of the movie, I think. But two, because it's almost like really hard not to. It feels very rich, and there's lots of themes and like really relevant notions that we can pull from the dynamic between these two girls. I liked this film. I did, until the end. The end is very sudden, it's graphic, it's violent, and I think it's really unnecessary. I hated the end. And because I hated the end, I almost hated the film. I was really, really upset when I finished watching, because it feels like such a beautiful and developing story was just immediately stained, and it really, really pissed me off. It did. I think the sudden ending really undermines the film's subtlety and like its beauty, and how we see this relationship with these two sisters. It just really pissed me off. Like, maybe that's just like the way the French do it, but it really pissed me off. Like, it had nothing to do with the movie. I was even looking up the end for like maybe 30 minutes because I was like, what does this have to do with the movie? Like, why did we end it this way? It's so annoying, especially coming from a female director. That pissed me off so badly. And I thought it was fucking nasty. Sue me. I did right here. I'm gonna read this bar for bar, word for word. Immediately what I thought after watching this, I wrote in my notes app, this is a movie that a ratty film major dude who needs to invest in a water pick shows you. And when you rightfully critique how weird everything is, especially the end, he's just going to insist that it's French and that you don't get it. Next is Anatomy of a Fall. It's directed by Justine Triet. Critically acclaimed like movie that everyone saw last year and that you didn't want to see. Like, yes, I watched it and I liked it. This is a drama. It dissects a family's life after the husband. There's a mommy, a daddy, and a son. After the husband mysteriously and suddenly passes away, like a tragic death. I should say more of that. Like the dad just kicked rocks, like he fell or something, or like so it seems. I don't know. The story follows Sandra. She's a writer. She's accused of murdering her husband Samuel, who falls to a death from their home in the French Alps. The authorities suspect foul play. Sandra claims it was either an accident or suicide. How would she know, right? As the trial unfolds, the couple's private life is laid bare. Every single thing is examined and observed and brought to light. There's tension, there's secrets, very conflicting narratives, and their visually impaired son, Daniel, becomes a very pivotal figure who grapples with his loyalty to his mother and his search for the truth, but also his care and admiration for his dad, obviously, who has now passed away. He's dealing with grief as well. I really liked the way family dynamics were portrayed in this film. So it's always really satisfying to see a depiction of a marriage between two very hungry and ambitious people. When you mix things like love and career and secular passion, there's always going to be some friction, some conflict, but there's also going to be resentment, which is always fun. I think Sandra's success as a writer really literally did overshadow Samuel's own aspirations and fueled tensions that grew into just plain bitterness. When does it not, right? And these dynamics become key evidence in the trial because their creative and emotional clashes are picked apart to paint either a motive for murder or the seeds and causes of a very tragic accident, so suicide. I think even though these people are devoted to each other, it doesn't undermine the ways in which they have disappointed each other and failed to show up for each person, and that's always going to be my jam. I'm very much a family kind of film rather than love, romance, or even personal. I thought it was done well. I love the cinematography, shot on 35mm, gorgeous. The colors were really, really striking as well, and I still think of them even months after watching it. Any recs on films like that? That'd be awesome. Oh, also, you want my opinion? that lady did not do that. She didn't do it. Are you dumb? You think she'd be that bothered that she'd go kill that man? She didn't. My hypothesis is that he was like outside, he was like taking a piss or something, and then he slipped in his own piss and he followed and cracked his head and then he died. Like, she didn't do it. She is too nonchalant. Like, I know her. That's twin. She did not do that. My next favorite is John Q. This is an oldie but a goodie. It's a very gripping drama about a father. His name is John Q, whose son, whose name is also John Q, takes desperate measures to save his son's life. His son collapses from a heart condition very suddenly in the middle of a baseball game, and he needs a transplant. But John learns, after like a very like arduous and painstaking process, he learns that his insurance won't cover the surgery, which leaves him with literally no options. So faced with the loss of his child and feeling very betrayed by the American healthcare system, he takes very drastic action by holding a hospital emergency room hostage. That's hard as fuck. That goes hard as fuck. It's cold. I don't give a fuck. And he demands that his son receives the transplant, like right then and there. He catches the attention of the media, so as the whole situation unfolds, tensions arise, and between John and the people in the hospital and the hospital staff and the law enforcement. He's a man with a plan. I watched this in elementary school, honestly. I was in like 5th grade. This is not my first time watching this film at all, but it's always one of my favorites, and it's one that I always go back to, and it always tears at a lot of heartstrings. Prevalent theme is the critique of the American healthcare system, which I think John very quickly realizes that he's fighting with a system that prioritizes profit more than human life. And the film really highlights the emotional and mental toll that medical crises can take on families, especially when insurance and bureaucracy stand in the way of literally life-saving treatment. I think this is a very powerful commentary on the inequities in healthcare access, particularly for lower-income POC families. There is a theme of parental love and sacrifice that's central to this narrative. It's so moving. It means so much. You really begin to ask yourself whether the law and the healthcare system should be the ones that we answer to when literally life is being threatened and life is at stake a lot of the time. Denzel Washington is one of the greatest actors of all time. He is the greatest actor of all time, at least to me. He's my favorite, my GOAT. Like, no new sentiments were brought up when I first watched this movie at the age of like 11. Nothing really changed. I think when you're poor and or a person of color, you're virtually radicalized at birth, but great watch if you haven't seen it. It's old as bones, so I'm pretty sure it's on like Tubi or something. Last film is fun. This is Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. This is the 3rd installment of that little trilogy or like franchise. I think I know one of them is like I Blew Up the Baby, where the baby gets big. I don't know where the other one is. I haven't seen it. I think all 3 have Rick Moranis. I think the first one is like too old. I'm like, oh, that looks too old, and like the CGI from that time is literally shit from a butt, so I refuse to watch it. This is about Wayne Selinsky. He's an inventor who accidentally shrunk his children in the previous films. Oh, okay. So he shrunk his kids in one, and then he blew up the baby in another. So then this time, him and his brother accidentally shrink themselves after testing like his latest invention in their house. And then their 2 wives, Diane and Patricia, also get shrunk. So it's just, all of that and trying to figure out how to unshrink themselves. It's a lot of fun. It's a romp. This is a classic. I had this on DVD growing up, and I would watch it at least once a week, even though I only spent about 7 months alive for the 90s. It's really nostalgic. You really get that like warm, fuzzy, like feeling that old movies bring you. I did have a big fat crush on Bug Hall in that film, but he's like weird now. I'm pretty sure he's like a neo-Nazi. So let's move on to TV. I didn't watch a lot of TV this year. When I find a TV show that I like, I do have like Gen Z poo-poo iPhone pilled brain as to where if I start a TV show and I don't like it within the first 2 episodes is very, very, very generous and like gracious for me. If I don't like it, almost immediately, I'm not going to give it a shot. I think the last TV show that I watched that I like tried to get into was Not even Yellow Jackets. I watched that on like one night. I don't know. But however, this year I started Girls on HBO. It just felt like that time my friends had recommended it a lot. I really liked it. I think it's funny, but not like haha funny. I think if you laugh at the jokes written in Girls, like I know what kind of person you are and like what kind of humor that you have, which isn't a bad thing. Just know that it's like fundamentally, intrinsically different to mine, and I like we probably like really can't be friends. I thought it was well written. I thought it was resonant. I thought it was poignant and very familiar of like girl in 20s living in New York. I didn't start it because I'm girl in 20s girl living in New York, but a lot of things felt very familiar and very relatable. I have a full video reviewing Girls coming relatively soon. I know I said in a favorites video, in a previous favorites video that that video's coming soon, but I decided to push it. It takes a lot more like work and research than I expected, but it's coming. So you can hold your horses because it's coming. And if you haven't seen it, I give you my thoughts on it. It's not a video essay. It's more of like an analysis on a piece of media that literally everyone else has seen that I'm just like catching up on and word vomiting on. Do I think it's like white woman, like very millennially? Yes, but it's not dated, but it's so comforting and like reminiscent of that time, even if you weren't present and aren't aware of like the specifically very hyper niche experience that is like being a millennial and like living in Williamsburg, Greenpoint. I still think it was good, whatever. Next, we have Angels in America. I watched this in 2023, but I also watched it in 2024. This is a mini series. I think I've talked about Angels in America on a video before, but I suppose the point of this video is to talk about it again. This is a mini-series. It's on HBO. The lives of these characters who grappling this AIDS crisis, as well as politics, as well as queer identity in 1980s America. It's originally a play, but this is a two-part drama. It blends kind of like magic realism with personal stories to tell these narratives of love and loss and survival. I think the main character, his name is Pryor. He is a man who is diagnosed with AIDS, but he also goes through these very supernatural visions as his conditions worsen. And his partner or ex-partner, Louis, abandons him out of fear and uncertainty and lack of knowledge. And then, but we also have Harper, who is a woman. She's like a housewife. She's addicted to, I think it's like Valium. And she's trapped in a failing marriage with a closeted Mormon lawyer, Joe, who hooks up with Louis and starts this relationship with Louis. And we also have Roy Khan, who's a very ruthless attorney, who's also secretly homophobic, but also homosexual. And he's, okay, I don't like homosexual. Like, girl, what year is this? He's gay. But he's also secretly battling AIDS, and he's, what's that man's name? He's Joe's boss. So they're interconnected, but not directly, which is really fun. It's so fun to watch. The show itself is not that fun, but you know what I mean. As their lives are intertwined, there's lots of plots and themes of community and betrayal and redemption. But then you also have this magic realism element where there's literal titular like angels and all like very strange but surreal encounters that some of the characters go through, but it's mainly Pryor, and it symbolizes humanity's resilience and the push for change and survival in a time of uncertainty but also immense suffering. It's great. Just watch it. I think this is like the last time I'm gonna talk about this for a while. This series changed my life. It's so well written and it's really evergreen. Like a lot of these themes and narratives, it doesn't feel dated, not even like a little bit. I love AIDS stuff, if you didn't know. Probably shouldn't have worded it like that. My MacBook's gonna die. We watched Sex and the City last year. It's amazing. Of like, obviously a show that deserves, and you understand why it's received such critical acclaim. It's amazing. It's a great show. I've seen it twice. Like, I've seen the show twice already. And I've watched all of the movies. It's really good. I think I need to like hold off for a little bit and just not watch it, because I want to revisit it in my 30s, which is a while away, but I know I'm gonna blink. It's gonna be Jesus Christ. Reminds me that there is life to live, especially life in the big city. I'm always reminded that I live in the big city, like I live there, but also reminds me to cultivate loving bonds with sisterhood and trusting with, you know, my sisters and my close friends, but also with yourself. So next is Lupin on Netflix. This is just fun. It's fun and it's French and it's fun. This is like a thriller / action. It's really, really fun. I loved it. There's 3 seasons and I watched it in maybe like 3 days. I think Omar Sy is just like incredibly magnetizing, and he has the ability to make you want to watch whatever he's in. I think this is like super, super fun, and I can't wait for the next season. Gosh, okay, sorry. I feel such immense pressure for some reason when I'm recapping like film and TV. These are some albums that I really liked in 2024. The way I feel about my taste in movies is the way I feel about my taste in music. I think it's literally dog shit, poo-poo dog shit, especially living in Brooklyn. Like, it's so interesting and funny how everyone is just rushing to be able to find and revel and enjoy in like the next niche thing, while suddenly showing you that they're different. They're not like everyone else, and that they're enjoying the next niche thing. I think my taste in music is like shit, honestly. I like what I like, and that's just about it. The first album is Pet Grief by the Radio Department. I've talked about it in a other favorites video, but I love the Radio Department. I think they make very nostalgic and almost dream poppy ambient music. This album specifically felt like a memory. I couldn't really pinpoint, and I still can't pinpoint on what the memory is. It makes you kind of like miss and yearn for something that you can't even pinpoint and put your mind on. I like all the songs, which is why this is under album. I think this is a no skip album. I think this is a great album, but specifically I like the album titled Pet Grief. I also really like Sleeping In. Next is Flux. This is by Love Spirals Downwards. This is just a good like electronica beepy, it's not really like beepy boopy album. This is their debut album. I've listened to all of their discography, but I went back to their debut album, and I keep finding myself going back to their debut album. I think it's just my favorite. I think it's the most masterfully made. I love Nova, I love City Moon, I love Psyche. We All Together is an album by a band called We All Together. This is a 1970s Peruvian, like Beatles-esque band. I don't know how I found this band. I, like, you know, you just kind of like keep on searching on Spotify one night. I found, oh no, that's not true. I found this band because I really like the song by Monic. It's called Thank You, and then I think the lead singer for Monic, or I don't know if it's just like, I don't remember if it's just one person, but I think she did vocals for this band. I don't really know. However, this is a great band. I'm not the biggest fan of like Beatles-esque music. I almost refuse to listen to the Beatles because I don't give a fuck about the Beatles, but this is a good album. It is. I can just look on this, the audio. Okay. I really like this song. It's a Sin to Go Away. It's a sin to go away. A lot of the synth and melody like really reminded me of like a Tame Impala track, Walking in the Rain, or like Hey Revolution. It just feels really good. I feel like I'm back in Woodstock and I'm passing my homeboy a joint. Yeah, I feel like I'm one of those kids who's like laying down on a bed on like a field before I get killed by a tractor. Let's move on. Metal Fingers presents ... all of that by MF Doom. My brother introduced me to MF Doom when I was younger. This is just a really solid album. I found myself going back to it a lot more than I realized this year. Fountain Baby by Amare. This is a great album. I talked about this last year, and it was in my favorites for last year, but I couldn't deny, I actually just couldn't deny that it was meant to be my favorites again this year. I think Amare really showed us her artistic ability throughout this album. I think this is such like a black girl album. I think like it's so reminiscent of just like black girlhood and black womanhood. I think this album it's sex, it's joy, it's whimsy, it's destruction, it's intrigue, it's like despair and rage wrapped up in a little black bow, and there's a lot of like musical influences. And my favorite song on this album is Sociopathic Dance Queen. I really hope Amare shows us more of tracks like that, but also just tracks in general. I went to her show earlier this spring, and I even had the opportunity to meet her, which was amazing. It was great. It was just great. Next is To Be in Love by the Feminine Complex. This is a great album. This is from a like 1960s like teenage girl band, and a lot of the tracks and lyrics are like very reminiscent of like what it means to be like a young girl. Some of them are so juvenile. I'm very much lyrics over beat kind of person. I will listen to the lyrics like so intently, and I don't know why. I think my brain just decides to really zero in and like listen to the words that are being sung. And the lyrics are so like girly, and they're so teenage girly, and I think this is just a really soothing, great album. Next is Human by Brandy. This was the redemption album. After Brandy had her manslaughter incident, where I think, if I'm not wrong, I think she killed someone. Not wrong. I think public perception of Brandy really, really changed, and this was her Forgive Me album. She had no features, no salacious messaging or visuals. The point of this album was for her to really like bare her soul to us, her audience, and really apologize. Even in her song Human, she literally goes, I'm only human, forgive me, trust me, save me from myself. And it's just a great R&B album. This is a really, really good album, honestly. My favorite tracks are First in Love. I like Departed. I like Warm It Up with Love. I like lastly is Bird's Eye by Raven Lenae. I think this year will be the year for Raven Lenae. There's a remix of Love Me Not with Losing You going viral on TikTok right now. I hope more people get to experience Raven Lenae. I think like paired with her vocals and her artistry, I think she just like relays womanhood and black womanhood in like such a soft and delicate way. Great album, really good. I hope Raven Lenae gets her flowers this year. There were a few individual songs that I liked this year. I'm just gonna go through that. Okay, no. Pretty quickly. Who I Am by Joanne Gower. Great song. Listen to the lyrics. I love those lyrics. It's almost like an affirmation. Amanda by King Wildanius, sorry. This, my friend showed me this song. It's a great song. It's like satire parody, but also very serious. I'm being silenced and I'm being persecuted against. For some reason, I'm now filming on my old work laptop, which sounds a lot more fancy than it is. This is quite literally just a laptop that I forgot to give back when I got laid off. And, you know, they were just like, fuck it, keep it, which is great for me. But for some reason, somehow, some way, my other laptop has 101 gigabytes of system data. 101. What could 100 gigabytes be on that computer? I could not tell you. I couldn't tell you. I keep all my stuff on a hard drive so I can keep my laptop virtually empty, and it's still not enough. So we've had to move. I am gonna have to move a little bit quicker throughout this. We can't sit, we can't talk, we can't lament, and I'm really sorry about that. But if The screen recording cuts off one more time. I'm gonna do as the kids say and crash out. I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna be crashing out. You're gonna watch me crash out. Rubber Band Girl by Kate Bush, mother when it comes to experimental music. This is a great album. I like the part in the song where she goes, "Here I go." I had to cover my face just now because I do something really weird with my tongue. This is such a fun track, such a fun song. I really should have put this entire album. It's the album with the red shoes, but I didn't want to be, as the kids say, greedy. That's not as the kids say. Why would you say that? Next song is Three Fingers of Love by The Art of Noise. I talked about this song before. I think this is like a rendition or like a remix, a composition of their song Moments in Love. Great. Good. Very good. Great track. Great song. And I love this very much. Pick You Up by Minoy. This came from her... Is this her debut album? Or like her second, or this is her sophomore album. This came from her album that she put out last year called This Is My Life, which I really didn't like that much. I thought I liked it in like first listen initially, but I actually really did not like this album. I think she was a little bit too experimental. You could tell she was having fun with this album, but I think there was such thing as too much fun because, girl, some of the tracks on that record, what the fuck was she thinking? Like, girl, Korean artists only put out an album like maybe every 3 years. This is what she's... I had to include Pet Grief by the Radio Department. I loved that song. It was my number one song on Spotify last year. It's just, it's such a good song. Membo by the Funkies. This is like 90s Nigerian rock. This is such a fun track. I really recommend the album holistically and total. And what are you saying? Tongue in Cheek by Underscores. Good song. Sorry, I'm like losing it. I'm like literally losing it. I need to take this week off and get in my bed so I can edit this video. Bodyguard by Beyonce. One of the best songs of all time. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This song evokes such an emotion out of me. I can't even really tell you what it is. This is such a good song. This is like rootin', totin', darn, sturtin' and potent. Make you want to fly down to Missouri and have a southern hot and heavy romance. This is such a good song, and I love this song. Fast Love Part 1 by George Michael. George Michael, where are you, bae? And why is it not on this realm? Why is it not on this physical earth realm? I miss you, George Michael, and I love you and I think about you every single day. I'm Alive by Celine Dion. Classic. I do associate it with my job, which I hate worse than I've ever hated anything in my entire life, because my boss is a fucking idiot, and he does not know how to deviate from a Spotify playlist. The second he finds one, that's all he's gonna play. So I think about this, I associate work with this song for now. How could you stain Celine Dion's name with something like that? But it's still a very, very, very good song. Texas Sundial version 1 by Samba Jean-Baptiste. This is a good song. What can I say? It's a good song. Skywalker by Baby Father. Fit with Amare by Dua Soleil. This is such a good song. This is a song that when I put on, everyone's like, what is this song? And I'm like... I put you on me when. Let Me Take You to the Beach by Frank Zappa. This song is so fun. La 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 la. Clean Heart by Sade. Do you have a clean heart? Is it clean and sharp? Yeah, didn't think so. Miskin by. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to say this. I'm sorry. This is like a stage name and it's French. I don't know, but this is a good song and a good album. The guitar in this track is amazing. What's the Time Where You Are by Troye Sivan. Troye Sivan, I love you. Duh. I think a lot of the B-sides from this album are overlooked. I think like everyone focuses in on like Got Me Started and Rush, which Rush is a great single, great title track. But the B-sides are good too. What's the Time Where You Are is an amazing dance track. I also really like Silly. I also really like Honey. Give me a decade to say all the shit I mean, yeah. I don't know how to tell you, yeah, what you really mean, yeah. Serpent Skirt by Cocteau Twins. Classica. Nothing Looks the Same in the Light by Wham. Classica, part 2. And then No One Comes Close by Infinity Song. I initially didn't like, okay, actually, I pronounced this, not say that out loud. I forget that. Like, now there's a chance to come across the people that I spew nonsense opinions at, especially now that I'm broadcasting it on literal www.internet.youtube.iphone.com. And while I see my nonsense opinions as nonsense opinions, and it's just like silly, stupid little fodder that comes out of my mouth, it may not be perceived that way. I'm not saying, like, I could meet Infinity Song and, you know, they could, I'm just saying, like, maybe don't say that. But this is a very good track. I have all these books and I don't want to bring them. Hang on.
Let me take you to the beach. La 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 la.
Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I know that once a book reaches like really, really big commercial success and it's pretty much mainstream, that it's met with a lot of criticism, whether it's constructive or not. Regardless of public opinion, I think this is a great book. How would I even describe this book? I'm gonna review it in almost too much detail in an upcoming video, but this is about a woman, a young author. Her name is June Hayward. She's white. She has a friend and colleague named Athena Liu. They were supposed to be twin rising stars. Athena grew up they're very young. Athena is a literary darling. She's very successful. She's very revered. And I think the fanfare surrounding Athena is brought up because she's like young, she's hot, she's talented, and she's Asian. June Hayward is white. June thinks that no one wants stories about basic white girls from basic white girls. And Athena dies in a freak accident. So on the night of her death, which June is present for, she steals a manuscript of an unfinished book of Athena. It's an experimental novel about the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers during World War I. I just finished this book, like kind of just like a few weeks ago. It's like really alarming how I cannot like explain, recollect, relay a piece of media even like immediately after I finish consuming it, which is kind of a problem. I feel like if you don't, I could summarize it to my friends, but for some reason, I don't know, maybe I have stage fright, look, in this empty apartment and me talking to my computer. But June heavily edits Athena's piece and she publishes it as a piece of her own. She even goes as far as to publish it under a different name, which is Juniper Song. I think Song is her middle name, but she really wants to bring like an ethnically ambiguous voice and like approach to this book. Obviously, bad. There's a lot of aftermath that ensues from her literally stealing this book. She goes through a lot of trials and tribulations and cancellations, and then there's an ending. Literally the most dog shit way to describe a book, but I promise I will give you my thoughts and everything in between in a few weeks. But I really enjoyed this. I really, really did enjoy this. I got this at my very local library, which doesn't really have the best selections. So like the selections are kind of really, really dog shit. And so when I saw a book that I even remotely recognized, I like immediately stretched it up and I read it. I think that's the only reason why I read this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very, very glad I read this. But if like I just have like idiot, stupid, like I don't want to read mainstream pilled brain, but this was a really great read. I think I would say this is pretty fast paced, even though it's over 300 pages. This definitely is a body of work that if I got it when I was in middle school just would have ran through this crazy. And I came across a few criticisms kind of I do think the internalized and just kind of like explicit and externalized racism that comes from the protagonist, I do think it's a little bit in your face. I think these metaphors and like this juxtaposition between the protagonists and her outward racism, but like she doesn't think it's racism. I think as a reader, you're spoon-fed just a little bit. I think it's just a little bit in your face, but I don't really care. And I think that little moments and like slips and Freudian slips and like moments of that where implicit biases rise to the surface, I think that's normal. Like, I think that's I think a lot of the times people express these things and they're very much in your face. So I like this a lot. R.F. Kuang, I was not familiar with your game, R.F. Kuang. This makes me want to read Babel and a few of her other work, even though I'm not a fantasy person at all. But I hope she comes out with more non-fantasy pieces. I'm sure she will now that because this is like super, 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 super successful. I didn't love the ending. I thought it was apt, considering the protagonist and the fact that she's fucking batshit crazy, but I heard that this is getting made into like a movie or a TV show. I hope that gets done justice. I think it's not going to. I think it's gonna be a pile of dog shit. I'm gonna probably watch it and review. Oh, that'll be so fun. But I really liked this, and I'm very glad that I read it. I think it was also really interesting to take a look into the intricacies of like publishing and that as an industry. I think that was also, I think a lot of truths were like spewed, I don't want to say spewed from the book, or just like revealed from the book. And it was interesting to get a little bit of insight into that as someone who wants to publish one day. Next is The Writing Life by Annie Dillard. I got this in a estate sale. I went to an estate sale like maybe the first week that I moved to New York, almost 2 years ago now. Wow. And it was the estate sale of this rich guy who died, and the books that he had really weren't that interesting, but I wanted to read them anyway. And this was one of the books in there. How would I describe this book? I don't know. I'm going to pull up my notes, and I'm really sorry about that. I called this a reflective and poetic piece on the joys and challenges of being a writer. Dillard, did I say Annie Dillon? I said Dillard, right? Dillard mixes kind of like philosophical notions with personal anecdotes, and she talks about, or she reminded me that a good writer is not born, the ability to write and do it well isn't something that's just magically bestowed upon you, that good writers are made. But moreover, I think this book really delves into what it means to kind of like sharpen that axe and commit yourself to writing, which I think maybe not inevitably, but will in fact make it better. She mentions the fact that creation requires both humility but also bravery, and how those are two elements that are completely necessary when it comes to creating anything, but specifically writing. It made me ponder and think about the ways in which I can commit to writing, even if I can't really commit right now, like the little ways in which that I and any writer can commit to writing. So this was really interesting. Angels in America, this is technically a play. This is by Tony Kushner. I ordered this after I watched the miniseries. I watched the miniseries first on HBO, and then I read the play. I already talked about this book, but it's great. You get more from the play, and it's very, very easy to read. For those of you who can't, the people who can't conjure up like an image in their head, like if I tell you to think of a Granny Smith apple, you could think of that, right? At least I hope you can. Now if I tell you to think of like a Granny Smith apple that suddenly grew legs and it's like breakdancing, you can think of that. Some people can't think of that. which really sucks. But for those of you who can like conceptualize and like picture things in your head, reading the play is a very immersive and like a really fun experience because you have like stage directions and like all of that on here. It's just a lot more detailed and it's great. I thought I would like the play more, but I think the miniseries is amazing. I think it really did it justice. And if you don't want to watch the series, read the play. If you don't want to read this play, watch the series. 2023, I didn't watch a lot of YouTube. I grew really disillusioned with YouTube. I think that honestly it was my algorithm, but I think my algorithm was just spoon feeding me a lot of content that I am like supposed to like. I got a lot of vlogs, I got a lot of like things that I just really wasn't interested in that year, but I like kind of like not fell back in love, but I started watching a lot of YouTube again last year, which is great. I still see noobs. I love like brain rot, really easygoing media. I do think that they are like they're just so fun to watch. I think like that is exactly my type of humor. I think they are third gen and I think they're doing great things and I can't wait till they come back from their hiatus. Anna Maria Luisa, I found this from my dear friend Juanita. It's always a pleasure coming across things that I think are just so profoundly like artistic and creative. I would say that she makes short films, very pleasing visuals. I watch her videos and I think I can like direct like a short film or anything like that. But I can't. It's fun to be inspired from people's content. Nathan's Nook is a channel that I found a few months ago. I really respect people who are just devoted to their craft and what they consider true to themselves. He makes books, lifestyle, what you call it, philosophical content? I'm not too sure, but it's always a treat. I love how aesthetically pleasing his videos are. I love like the art direction it takes. It's just been great watching his videos. I can't wait to watch more. Lastly is For Harriet. This is like a Black feminist community. She either graduated from Yale or Harvard. I'm really sorry, I don't remember, but she is Ivy League educated and I came across her channel. Like I've been a subscriber for years now, but I really enjoyed her content last year. I think she brings up a lot of like societal and philosophical but also like political notions that are so like intrinsic and specific to Black women and Black people. But I think anyone can listen to her content and everyone should. I think she's so smart. I think she is razor sharp. I think she's like quite literally brilliant, and it's always a pleasure to just sit down and be able to listen to like a very, very, very like razor sharp, super smart, intelligent, nuanced, and informative Black woman. So I love For Harriet. I really didn't do the descriptions of those YouTube channels justice, but I recommend all of them. Please go watch all of them. I only listened to one podcast this year really, which is Sibling Rivalry, which I've been listening to them for like the past I think almost 3 years now, which is a podcast between two drag queens and very close friends, Bob the Drag Queen and Monet Exchange. This is just great. This is great. It's personal stories, it's comedy, it's fun, it's lighthearted. What more could you ask for? That's all for media. Jesus Christ. That was a mouthful. I always feel so like drained and overwhelmed talking about media, and I don't know why. I feel such immense pressure to be able to relay it really well for the sake of whoever's watching it, but also to express my feelings towards it and why I like it to the best of my ability. Anyway, I really didn't get into routines this year. I think that I think a lack of routine just adds to my overall dysfunction, and it definitely added and kind of like avalanched onto the dysfunction that was last year for me. With the new year always brings this really sudden and passionate desire to employ all of these like healthy and like beneficial habits. But I think like for me this year, I want these habits to turn into routines, so they turn into my life, if that makes sense. Like I want to be so deep into my routines that I don't even recognize that I'm doing them anymore. However, I had 2 routines last year that I stuck to, really not like kind of like because I had to. Like it's almost like I didn't have a choice. In order to feel like mainly normal and for me to go about my day semi-normally, I depended on a lot of supplements. Iron, I've been anemic since I was a kid. It's really annoying. My Metalite, I talked about it in a previous favorites video, saves my life. I'm constantly dehydrated, which is so annoying. I do forget to drink water, and that leads me to always feel like fatigued or lethargic, and I'm like, and it was actually my brother who was like, hey, you're low on minerals. Like, how about you pop a magnesium, you pop an electrolyte, you put some salt in your water. Like, girl, I don't know what it is. Magnesium glycinate. I think this is supposed to like help you sleep or something, or like help relaxation. I've been taking it for a while now, and it helps a lot. I just don't remember why. There's lots of different forms of magnesium, but that's the one I take, as well as L-theanine and caffeine. When they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, they're not lying. They're not lying. They're actually really not lying. Breakfast is so important, and it's fundamental almost. It plays a pivotal part on how you feel throughout the day. Who would have known? Who would have known? Not me. Not I. I've been having breakfast more and more. I had it all throughout last year, and it just helps me not feel bad. Helps me not feel bad. It helps me not feel lethargic. I have energy. Takes away some of the brain fog. Breakfast is so important for me. I can't not have breakfast. I can't. I'll go to a deli. I'll figure some shit out. I'll be late. I'm gonna make some shit because I'm gonna have breakfast. Okay, I have a beauty. NARS Exhibit A blush. This is, oh my gosh, look at me. This is the blush that I wear literally every single day. I'm on the MacBook, and I applied it a little bit more conservatively today because I had to go to work, but I'm always wearing this blush. I pair it with the the Rare Beauty, the terracotta one, like the pinky one. I think it's called Love. So it creates like a pinky ready kind of thing, but I think red blush is super flattering. Unlike everyone, really. I think you just have to be discerning with how much you apply. If you have deeper skin tones, obviously you can apply more. If you have fairer skin, maybe don't do that. I want to know if Juvia's Place has a cream one, because I'm like addicted to red blush. I'm addicted, and I don't know if I could go back. I don't want to try pink blush. I don't want to go back to mauve. I don't want to do berry. I want to use red every single day. Every single day. I think it creates such a natural, like, flushed look. And as someone who can't really blush, fuck, I look like blushing. Like, I can't really blush. It still creates such, like, a naturally, like a what's the word I'm looking for? Pinched, like a flushed, whatever. Like a flushed look, and it's really, really gorgeous. And you don't have to get an NARS one, obviously, but this is just what I had. Crave Beauty Beat the Sun SPF 40. I got this a while ago in PR. The second I neglected to post that video on time, Crave Beauty snatched me off their PR list, but it's okay, Crave Beauty, because this sunscreen is the #GOAT. It's lightweight, it's great, it's fun, it's fun. It's really easy to apply. Although I should say, honestly, I really think it was e.l.f.'s sunscreen, like the Suntouchable, the spray one with the yellow cap. That was like my GOAT this year. I should have added it to the list. I can't find it, but I have it, but I can't find it. A lot of the thing that deters people from applying sunscreen or even just like skincare in the morning is like having to put that cream on and like wait for it to, sink in, and sometimes it's sticky. It made getting ready, especially during the summer, so easy because I would just spray it on and I'd rub it in and I'd forget about it. Spray it on my neck and my face, whatever. It also really makes it easy to reapply, but you can't apply too much or else your base will be burnt, and I can tell you that firsthand. Some fragrance favorites. This is Luca by Toulon Yor. I thought this was I thought this was Troye Sivan's brand. Like, I thought he was the founder, but he's actually just the creative director and like the face of the brand, which is just fine. There's bergamot, there's black pepper, there's, I don't remember, I'll put the notes on the screen, but this was also freaking expensive. I got this from the pop-up in May when he did his pop-up in New York City. To me, this is a fall winter fragrance. I've been wearing it a lot lately since the weather got cold. I've been trying to be not so greedy with it because I don't have the means to repurchase anytime soon. The longevity and like sillage is also really good. I spray this on my clothes, and like even days and days and days after I finish spraying, after I wear the article of clothing, I still smell it, which is amazing. I wish I could like conjure up some English words to tell you what this smells like, but I literally could not tell you, like, but it's just great. Luca. My other fragrance favorite is Missing Person by Fleur. This is a bit of a more like mainstream fragrance. This is also an addition that's a little bit newer, but I had to add it. This is musky perfection. It smells like a very familiar person. It smells like nostalgia. It smells like your mom, your sister. It smells like a lover. It just smells very, very, very good. I think this is the most musk that I can handle. I don't know if you've smelled Another 13 by Le Labo. That one smells like sweat, which some people could be into that. That's okay. I'm not gonna yuck your yuck. But that smells like, that's like bordering on like musty balls. Like that smells like that smells like a pheromone that I don't like. Like I smelled that and I was like, Plus One by Okja was my signature. I ordered, I think like 4 bottles of that for Black Friday last year, and I have just finished my last one. So I don't have the bottle, but that's like the perfect skin scent for me. It's the fragrance I get the most compliments on. It's Justin Bruxen. That one is like a dupe of Julia Has a Gun. I love Okja as a perfume house. I think you can discover a lot of scents and scent profiles that way. Great stuff. Lastly, I have Bathers. It's a candle, and this is by Salter House. This is also a newer edition. You can see the candle like this, which I love. I love this design. This is such a heavenly smell. There's rose, there's teakwood, there's cedarwood or sandalwood, I always forget, and there's amber. But this doesn't smell musky at all. Like, this is not musk at all. This smells like you just took a bath. The word Bathers is very apt because I don't know how they did that, but this smells so good. It's clean, it's fresh, it's soapy, it's a little bit creamy, but it's still like a little bit musky, and it's amazing. I went to one place this year, literally only one, or last year, and it was Los Angeles. I visited a friend in Los Angeles for a little bit. I debated filming or vlogging, and I was actually pretty excited to vlog. It was my first time in Los Angeles and my first time on the West Coast. Hey, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. That was truly a period of rest and relaxation because we did not do anything. Nothing at all. And that's definitely the way I preferred it. But I really liked Los Angeles. I think there's something really glamorous and nostalgic about it that I really couldn't like express further. I went to the beach, which was great. My friends and I, we went out to the beach, and it was an extremely foggy day. It was so foggy, and the fog overlooked like the beach landscape and the ocean, and it was like one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen in my life. We made a fire, we put out a tent, and it was really special. I have a few random favorites that I really couldn't put into a category. The first is Earl Grey hot chocolate. Now, I did in fact see this from like a TikTok. It was a TikTok of a woman showing her Earl Grey hot chocolate recipe. To be told, I didn't watch that because I was gonna make it at home, but I could make it at work where there's lots of resources. And, thanks for me to make Earl Grey hot chocolate. Every time I clock into work, which is often, I make a cup of Earl Grey hot chocolate. It's delicious. It's so good. And it scratches that part of my brain that wants both tea and both hot chocolate. I don't know why we weren't mixing these wonderful flavors before, but it's amazing. My Brooklyn Public Library card. I love that thing. I expressed my love and my affinity for red nails in a previous favorites video. Reminds me of my mom. I love red nails. It's such a classic and timeless color. And guess what? Anyone who wears red nails, it suits you. Any shade, any like tone, any variation of red, it suits everybody. Is that a coincidence? Because I don't think so. I had a big ube stint this year. I loved me some ube down. Ube ice cream sandwiches, ube eclair, and it was so much fun. That's the shit that I live for. It is. That's the shit that I spend my hard-earned adult money on. So, oh my God in heaven. I forgot to put Substack on here. Okay. It's, by the time this comes out, the Google Doc will in fact have Substack, but I forgot to put my Substack. My favorite Substack articles, which is fine, because you and I can just go through it together. Okay. I'm on Substack primarily for the writing, obviously, but I think kind of interacting with it as a social app is also really interesting. In the beginning, and even now, Substack is doing this strange thing that now that it identifies me as like a girl in her 20s, I'm just getting like spoon-fed really poorly written essays on like, if I see another girlhood essay, I might rip my hair out, on like Sex in the City, on like deleting Instagram and things like situationship culture, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying. I say as I reapply my lip gloss. It's to the point where like I don't even scroll anymore, even though I know I should, to kind of, so that Substack knows that that's not really what I'm looking for. But it's tough. It's painful. It's like, I think it's really funny because there's so much content on Substack about deleting your social media, specifically Instagram, since it's like superficial or something. I don't really know the beef. Actually, we know the beef the girls have with Instagram. But then you'll see people that post such like Twitter-like posts with the intention for it to gain virality. That intention is so that people like interact, like haha funny, like funny post, and then they want to go through and like you're reading and hopefully subscribe. That doesn't really happen most of the time. And I'm like, I think it's really funny that there are so many people being like, delete Instagram, like delete social media, while trying to Twitterify Substack. And there's people are saying it's like really reminiscent of Tumblr. I don't know about that. I was there for Tumblr's glory days, but Substack is interesting. Nevertheless, these are my favorite reads or accounts for Substack this year. I really liked Telling the Bees. That's not what I want to do. This is a blog that examines social but also sociological trends throughout the internet. Everyone and their mother knows about his like best-selling post that he posted this summer. It's called The Mainstreaming of Loserdom. That opened my eyes so widely. Let me see. This one, Say That You Love Me. This is a very like specific post, and I was really happy to come across it. I'm gonna highlight this right here. I have to stand in my truth. If avoidance have won dating, the anxiously attached have won the internet. Oh my goodness. Reading this post was like a breath of fresh air. I'm gonna put my own business out there for a second because I never gave a fuck. When I was in college, I became really close friends with someone who was, I want to say, observant, too observant, hyper observant, but also want to say like almost fascinated with my personal philosophy and like the way I regarded personal relationships and things like that. I'm gonna give more context because if I don't, it's gonna make me seem like a very one-dimensional person. But I don't know. I think through my life experiences and the way that I grew up, I can just move on. I really like respect, and I don't really have to grapple with or come to terms with when a relationship is ephemeral. If anything, see, most relationships as ephemeral, I see them as like very transient. I think like this person was so tickled pink because it juxtaposed their personal philosophy. They were the first ones who told me about attachment styles. That's the very first time I heard all that fucking mumbo jumbo. Like, all I heard for them was like, oh my gosh, like you're avoidant. And I was like, okay. Anyway, fast forward a little bit of time, and when that friendship ended, because it was meant to end, hey guys, guess what? If you have someone in your life talking about how like they're the victim and everyone else is the bad guy now to get them, and like everyone always leaves them, there's a reason why people leave them. It's not a lesson I have to learn twice. I read this article and I thought of them because even after the friendship ended, like literally to this day, I'm still dealing with the aftermath of this person like trying to put me on blast and like committing the cardinal sin of ending a friendship, like because it's like, how dare I end a friendship, or like how dare I sever this relationship, and how dare I do this to this person. This post also reminded me that through social media, but I think especially last year, people are just co-opting and adopting mental health vocab and doing no previous research on it, assuming it has no nuance, and labeling not only the people in their lives but themselves with it. Like I saw bitches on TikTok so much last year be like,
I dealt with an avoidant. I would wish that on my worst fucking enemy.
And I'm like, okay, like, girl, no, that man just hated your guts. He hated every single thing about you. Doesn't matter what his attachment style was. He could be secure, and he still hate you, like, down to your red blood cells, down to your white blood cells. It's just like, really? No, that person hated you very, very badly. I think it's so annoying that people are just like taking these words, barely even understanding what they mean, and then just using them to label very like specific. I wrote here, apparently anyone who doesn't have an anxious attachment is a bad person, doesn't deserve to be in a fulfilling personal relationship, and more importantly, isn't capable of it. It's almost as if it's in their genotype. Avoidance, oh my god, I also saw this thing, like I saw a lot of sentiments last year being like, oh, like avoidance are just narcissists in disguise. Like, no, narcissists are just narcissists in disguise. A narcissist is just a narcissist. Since when is avoidant synonymous with narcissist? Avoidants aren't the bad guys. I wrote with anxious attachments being their helpless victims that are fated to face emotional turmoil and destruction, but also vice versa. I think anxious attachments aren't bad or burdensome people that destroy every relationship they come across because they ask for too much or whatever the case may be. I think this post specifically reminds us that it's very harmful and toxica to just like learn something really, really quickly online, and then to just like do no further research on it, project and make sweeping generalizations on very real, very nuanced theories in people. I'm not championing for any attachment style. I think unless you're secure, you should shut your fucking mouth and just like not engage in any kind of discourse. And how about you work on bettering yourself? Oh my god, I've been seeing too much on avoidance, and y'all, ooh, oh my gosh, have you dealt with someone who is anxiously attached? Oh my god, yeah, I would wish that on my worst fucking enemy. Like it gets my blood pressure up. Like, they have another post which I really liked. They posted it earlier this summer. It's called Boyfriend Land. I'm gonna read my notes. I'm so sorry. I've been working on stress. I'm gonna read my notes. This is about how women often focus on showcasing their male partners, normalizing and even defending problematic behaviors such as men treating women poorly. This trend of highlighting men, whether it's boyfriends or brothers or fathers, reflects a bigger societal acceptance, not only on mediocrity, but just like patriarchal values, where a woman's worth and relationships are often defined by their proximity to men. I think in this post, he really like masterfully critiqued this normalization, and he suggests that it perpetuates, he goes a little step further and he suggests that it perpetuates unhealthy standards in datings and social dynamics, which is true. especially in the context of current political and cultural shifts. I think for cis, straight, and bi women, when the economy falters and the ability to showcase your wealth through lavish hauls or extravagant get ready with me's, I think when that diminishes, your proximity to a man becomes social currency and relevance. If it's not to worry, I wrote, if it's not your boyfriend, not to worry. It could be your father, brother, male roommate, and even your best friend's partner. I didn't even realize it until I read this, but it's so often that like the very normal behaviors of men, they're platformed, and they're just showcased too much. I wrote further. I said, I saw it as an eye-opening realization that far too often the subject of men and all their idiosyncrasies is always at the forefront of young and older women alike when it comes to content, when, one, the reverse would never occur. Like, men are not as nearly as enamored or fascinated or tickled pink with women enough to whip out a phone and like document and giggle at like every single specific quirk. Like, that's just not happening, and that will never happen. But also, too, I think it makes you question like why we care. And I'm not singling myself out. I think like we've all been kind of unconsciously digesting this content and find it like entertaining. Literally, I wrote, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, as we start to consume this content and accept it unconsciously, why do I give a fuck? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, why do I give a fuck that your Swedish boyfriend tried to Rice Krispies treat? Like, tell me why. Tell me the fuck why. I don't fucking care. Like, why do we care? But it's specific and it's important because we wouldn't see a reversal of that content. We don't see that. Do you see like my Swedish girlfriend tries a Rice Krispie treat? No, because no one gives a fuck. They'd call her like a fat fuck or something like that. Like, they'd find some way to probably harass that girl. Why don't give a fuck about your Swedish boyfriend trying American food, or your hardened father displaying a modicum of emotion at your wedding, or your socially inept little brother being rude as fuck to you as you try to cheekily participate in a social media trend? Why is it funny? Like, why is it entertaining? Why is it even a topic? Men's personality and like list have been watered down to nothing, to the point where even the tiniest shred of character revealed, whether it's naughty or nice, is not only platformed, but it's championed, and that sucks. I hate that for you guys. I do. Great read. I want to read this. Everything's always something, and like everything's always bigger. I really like how he connects it to unhealthy standards that like women can subconsciously like just begin to accept, and we don't even realize it. When you're taught by society that this is how men speak to and treat women that they love, a lot more people end up in terrible relationships because they don't know any better. We end up with shut-up rings and men sexualizing their wives and their wedding vows. I think that's God, linking that man who like sorry, I should be laughing. That's really cruel. He like vowed to like slap his wife's ass or something every chance that he gets, and then the pastor or the reverend or whoever was officiating it, he was like, "Is that it?" And he was like, "Yeah." Okay, sorry. We end up with shut-up rings and men sexualizing their wives and their wedding vows, and men spraying their wives with champagne. But you know, boys will be boys. They're just like that. What do you expect? The rise of situationships and people accepting absolute crumbs from people they're dating makes a lot of sense when you realize accepting poor behavior is part and parcel of American dating culture. If your own brother or best friend is calling you slurs or just mean words, it doesn't have to be slurs. How can you expect a man will respect you or treat you or view you, I added an extra word, as an equal? Bars. He also goes on to show how talk about how weird it is when you bitches show off your like hot brothers or your dads. That's fucking nasty, and it's incestuous, and like Sweet Home Alabama, that's fucking nasty. If you like men in any way, shape, or form, I think this is a good thing to read. I just cannot imagine coming on Beyonce's internet and like instead of talking myself up, I talk up some dude. Like, bitch, fucking talk yourself up. Like, show us your bedroom. Like, I don't care about your boyfriend's, but like, oh my god, like your boyfriend sleeps on navy sheets. Like, I don't give a fuck. Chef's kiss. He just gets it. he just gets it. He also has a TikTok account where he it kind of like gives you like smaller posts and stuff like this. He just came out with he just posted a TikTok on kind of like how there is nothing accidental or like flippant about the manufacturing of a celebrity's character. He goes on to talk about Paul Mescal. I fucking hate that dude. I'm sorry. Okay, that's not true. Sorry, I don't hate him. I just think there's something very fucking fishy and weird about him. January 4th, 10:16 p.m. Let us gather back here when the news about that fucking freak drops. Like, I'm sorry, you can't fucking fool me. I love an Irish accent, but like there is something sinister about that man. No, but I don't trust Paul Mescal. I do think he has his female audience kind of blinded, and he's really, really masterfully crafted this like, I can't do an Irish accent. He's just, I just love acting, and just like, I'm just like a shy boy, like I don't know what to do, and I'm dating Gracie Abrams, and she can't fucking sing. Anyway, he posted a really good TikTok about how like that man is obviously very intentional and like hungry and ambitious in his acting career, and like actors also look for external validations through awards for their projects and like in award season and all that. Just great, great stuff. I think that's like as much pop culture as I like, and I think he explores a lot of literary and sociological and societal themes and notions that are accessible but also very relevant. So this is the last category. I wanted to include some advice or just like really poignant words that I've collected throughout the year. They're all TikToks. But I think like TikTok is an outlet where we can receive such beneficial information and advice and words of encouragement from anybody. There's quite a few here, and I'm gonna narrow it down. Oh my god, I love this one.
I have already settled it for myself. So flattery and criticism go down the same drain, and I am quite free. Because as women, we're already forced to exist and view things in the context of a patriarchal society with European beauty standards, which means that a lot of times our views, whether they're about beauty standards or societal views in general, are not our own. We're socialized and indoctrinated to think that way. And I think about this a lot as a dark-skinned woman who has witnessed the drastic shift from dark skin being denigrated and made fun of to it being celebrated and deemed beautiful. And when you are at the center of a shift like that and directly impacted by it, you really do learn that the only person who can and should dictate any standard for your life is yourself. But even more, you learn that allowing someone to dictate your worth or your value, whether that be somebody deeming you value.
I think this message goes far, 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 far beyond self-worth and self-image and self-esteem. I think the only way to move is through self-assuredness. I think both compliments but also like criticism have the same effect. I think like when you don't take compliments to heart, I think you've really felt it. I think when you don't take criticism to heart, I think you've really felt it. I think there's like a hidden step in womanhood for a lot of us that involves doing the work yourself and being self-assured. And that's in every aspect of life. And I really I reposted it immediately after watching, and a lot of my mutuals did as well. What else was next?
I feel like there's no greater consciousness in seeing evidence of it on social media. For example, I posted this shoot about a month ago, and then just recently this designer released a collection with Adidas. Very similar style.
Adidas. I really hope you can hear this. If you can't hear this, I'm gonna put the audio behind it. Anyway.
I think behind the scenes is that they were probably shot like 2 or 3 months ago, maybe even more. And this is a very liberating mindset for artists, because I think sometimes we are attached to this idea that people are copying us. So when you're tapped into collective consciousness, you'll notice ideas come from your brain at the same pace that it's coming from other people's brains. It's such a burning and validating feeling. My last example, I did a piece.
I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard collective consciousness, I thought that was a bunch of mumbo jumbo. This TikTok, like I think about it at least once a day. However, it is very validating and affirming, and it's almost like a reminder that you are on the right track creative wise, to see these ideas and notions being kind of like trickled down and like presented in like art that we see every day. I posted a Substack post in, when was that? September. It was called, what did I name that thing? It's called Ever Since I Was a Little Girl, I Always Knew I Wanted to Smoke Cigarettes. And I can't even fucking summarize something that I wrote myself, but it I wrote it during a time when I could not stop thinking about the symbolism of a cigarette, but also just like a smoke break. This was coming at a time when I hated my job bad to the bones, fucking so bad, and I did not yet compartmentalize feeling like that with my job. I thought about previous jobs that I worked in the past and how if I was working like a restaurant job and I told my manager I need a smoke break, that would automatically be understood and I would be granted like those 10 minutes of just like quiet time for me to smoke my cigarette so I can get back to work. And a few weeks ago, there was literally like an exchange, like a TikTok that I found, and then I'm always looking in the comments, and there was this comment, I don't know, I'm putting it on the screen, but if I can remember, it was something along the lines of like a cigarette almost feeling like someone to talk to, or like just someone having someone there. I didn't even mention that at all in my Substack, but when like I read the comment and it was so, it just felt so validating and affirming to know that this entire post that I wrote and that feeling that I was trying to think of that like a cigarette would hypothetically convey, like that's not like it felt very validating that it wasn't just a bunch of like fucking nonsense, and that was understood, even though I didn't even mention like the fact that a cigarette kind of feels like having someone there, if that makes sense. I said, look what I said. So that was awesome. I really like this piece on Substack still. I like everything that I write because that's how you should do it. I'm gonna self-promo here for a second. This was great, and I think it was great, and I've read it a million times, so I have no desire to read it at all ever again.
It's TikTok time, me and you, TikTok time.
A fundamental quality about friendship is you're able to meet people as a peer in at least one aspect of their life. Maybe it's they're really good at riffing with you and you have great conversational chemistry and you're always supportive, so you're kind of like meeting each other up high here, and then they're able to punch back here and you're able to punch back here, and so that can be a lot of fun. Maybe it's you have a lot of admiration for the way that they show up for their friends.
I can't play this TikTok in full. Once again, I'm gonna link it. Please watch it. This creator specifically, I've been getting a lot of her TikToks lately. And they are so fucking smart. I just love when I come across like someone who's so smart and they just get it. I have not talked resolutions at all in this video, and I'm not going to, but I think if you were to ask me about a resolution, my only resolution, I have a lot. I actually have a lot. I have a lot. I made a vision board and a Google Doc, but I think my only true resolution this year is to get acquainted with rejection. I want to be so familiar with rejection. I'm stealing this, I wrote this in a Substack post, but I want the rapport that exists between rejection and I want it to be I just did a hawk to a joke. I didn't even mean to do that, but that's the literal sound it makes when you spit. I want me and rejection to like spit shake every time we come across each other. I think growing up as a child who was heavily rejected in a lot of aspects. No, but in like a lot of aspects, whether it was like school with like any kind of like romantic prospect, or even just like my parents like being rejected by my like having certain philosophies and notions like shot down and rejected by my mom and my dad. I think it made me so afraid of rejection just because I know how I'm more than familiar with how terrible that can feel. And I think that's led me to lead a really complacent adulthood so far. And just to have that security of like never feeling that again. But I fear I'm feeling something worse, which is just complacency. I think I feel far too comfortable. I think I've like remained in my own comfort zone for a very, 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 very long time. Far too long. So I want to get absolutely comfortable and familiar with rejection, and that's in all aspects of life. I pitched a few ideas to like a major publication one night I was feeling like because I'm fucking crazy, and I was feeling fucking crazy, and I did it with Substack posts because I'm not even at all like relatively qualified enough to, I guess, pitch. But I received a rejection email from one. Not all. I pitched to quite a few, but I had an editor reply back, and even there, and it stung, like, when they rejected it, obviously. Like, even the response, it was so curt, and I was just like, it stung, but I think it produced a much greater feeling, which is the feeling that I tried, and that's not the last that editor's gonna see of me. I'm gonna be fucking like banging down their email with even more and more ideas. But she said one was good, so she's like, this is great, but I'm gonna pass.
You know, when people say no one is paying as much attention to you as you think, I have something to admit. I am paying a lot of attention to what other people wear, and I think it's a personal issue because I care a lot.
I love Persia.
Think of me. I feel like there's a weird stigma around saying that
This blends like
how you think other
public perception and like a little bit of philosophy with fashion really, really well. This is like a notion I take on fashion very deeply.
is saying. For instance, I don't personally love buying things that are super trendy or wearing styles that are super trendy because then it's almost too transparent. Like, people can look at you and be like, oh, you have a Stanley Cup, so you're part of this community, or oh, you're wearing tabbies, so I know you're hanging out in these internet spaces. I feel that way about my tabby loafers sometimes. Like, I don't want to wear them out because it feels too transparent. Like, people can clock you in a second if you're in the know. But I think on the inverse of that, people like that connection. The purpose of a lot of these things is to communicate that you're part of an in-group, that you relate to certain things, that you relate to certain people. I think this plays into why I'm so interested in normcore. It just feels like the most nuanced, like almost unrecognizable way to communicate that you're interested in fashion. Like, when someone sees me, I don't even want them to think about what I'm wearing. I want something to register, like, more subconsciously that I look good, or that I'm wearing something interesting, or there's something interesting about me, but that they can't put their finger on it. I'll be honest, I think this is all wrapped up in a fear of failure.
I think this perfectly encapsulates the need for to develop and cultivate a personal style. I think this also explains my aversion to like hyper trends. Like this bow in my hair is trendy. Like, I wore red tights and a balloon skirt today to work. That was super trendy. I just bought like a fur hide bag. Some could say that that's also trendy. Like, I'm not saying I don't participate in trends, but I think I don't know, just really watching that TikTok, I feel a lot of things about fashion, but I can never verbalize them, which is why I think the internet is great. I really love Persia. I also love Ryan Finn, and I think they bring my musings and reflections on fashion. I think it rises to the surface. This is the last one I'm going to show.
Breakup, and today I woke up so lonely and so anxious, and I was like, today's gonna suck. And I was at the gym, and I was like, I'm not one of those people where like the gym is making thirsty. It's happening to me. I can text my friends and ask them how they're doing and like stop thinking about my shit for like 45 seconds of the day. Like, that is an option. I can also play Beyonce, and I play Beyonce, baby. You freaking dress, you're gonna feel better, right? Like, I just was like, oh, I am not entitled to joy. No one ever promised me that like that was like a right, you know? Like, I'm allowed to be happy, but like it's not like mandated that I must be happy, that others must make me happy. I have to do the things.
I am not entitled to joy. Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. If there's one thing I learned last year, it's that the pursuit of joy is like very intentional. It's not accidental. It's not this thing that we just like leave up to the day, or we leave it up to God, or we leave it up to our loved ones, or we leave it up to our friends. I think the pursuit of joy has nothing to do with any of those forces, and it has every single thing to do with you. And you're in control of your own destiny, and you literally shape your mood and your desires and your perceptions. It's literally all up to you. And it's hard. I think, realizing that you have to intentionally pursue joy, like pursue it, like run after it, keep up with it. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, but that TikTok made a lot of sense to me, and I feel like someone else may need that as well. Jeez Louise! This was very long. This video will already be published. Obviously, if you're already watching it, chat, how long do we think this video is going to be? I really don't want to edit a lot of it for editing's sake, but also there's not a lot that needs to be edited. That was my 2024, everybody. If you watched this, thank you for watching. this is going to replace the podcast episode for the year. Ooh, I have a really fun one coming with a friend. But that was my 2024. 2024 was shit from a butt. It really fucking sucked in a lot of ways. But it was necessary. And I think I'm, to come out of the dark, to come into light, there has to be dark, right? This is like every single thing that I have this is my brain for the past year. I'm going to update this Google Doc. The Google Doc will be in the description. I'm going to link my favorite Substack. I'm going to link Telling the Bees. I'm going to link Catherine Shannon. I'm going to link Jasmine. And I'm going to properly link this TikTok and give a little paraphrase for each one. Thank you for watching. If you're still here, this is so long. This video is so long. I have so much to edit. I think 2025 is going to be, knock on wood, a great year in more ways than one. It can't get worse. My friends and I keep saying this one thing, like, it actually can't get worse than this. It actually can't get worse than this. Like, it actually can't get worse. I want to say thank you very much for all the love and support you've shown this channel. I went from 7,000 to 30,000 subscribers in a calendar year, that's a number that, like, you can't even conceptualize. I do my thing. I keep things light. I keep things silly on here. But most of all, I am true to myself, and this is just like a stream of consciousness that I really did not intend for like people to watch and like listen and employ feedback so intently. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you greatly. I want to give a shout out to the women of color who were the first ones to watch my videos and who recommend my videos. And I don't always reply to comments, but even if I don't reply to a comment or a DM request, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you greatly. I wonder where we're gonna be, this time next year. So thank you very much. I love you very much. Hey, this community has been great to me. I'm so excited for next year content-wise. Okay, no, next year is this year. I'm excited for this year content-wise. I'm going to take a little bit of a break just so I can edit a lot of things that are backlogged. But I'm so excited. Hopefully I can put pen to paper, focus in, zero in, and lock in. It's gonna be a good year, y'all. It's gonna be a good year. At least it has to be. It has to be, dude. It has to be. If it isn't, I'll kill myself.